The Ashes series is always very, very special. You can have Wembley at football international matches. You can have Wimbledon, but there's nothing to touch the Ashes series, especially a Ashes match, England-Australia at Lord's. That's very, very, very special. I mean, I've umpired, I think, about 20 test matches which involved England and Australia. So I've seen a lot of cricketers, I've seen them go, I've seen tremendous changes in the Australian and England side. And it's very, very, very special to everyone, especially Australia and England. Well, throughout the world, throughout the cricketing world, they all talk about the Ashes.
For people outside of the countries of Australia and England, how much do you think they know about it? Perhaps the non-cricket playing nations?
Well, I think they know about it, the non-cricket playing nations, that because it gets well publicised, the Ashes series. And I think that, the non-playing nations will show a bit of interest. In fact, they'll show a lot of interest in this Ashes series, because it should be a good series.
You mentioned that rivalry between the two sides. You have officiated in you say 20 different test matches between the two sides. It has the potential to really boil over, doesn't it? There's not a lot of love lost between these two countries.
But they play hard, but they play within the laws of the game, and that's you can't better that. I mean, certainly they play hard. There'll be a bit of banter thrown about between both teams, a bit of, what shall we say, sledging. But on the whole, they'll play within the laws of the game. That's the main thing.
How do you think the Ashes ranks in terms of a sporting contest, in terms of sport around the world? People talk about the FA Cup, they talk about the World Cup, the Champions League, and the Ashes in kind of a similar light. How do you think the Ashes ranks in terms of sporting contests?
I think personally it's number one. You can have Wimbledon, which we've just had, and you can have the World Cup final at football, the Rugby World Cup final, and so on. But there's nothing to compete with the Ashes. As far as I'm concerned, and a lot of other people think the same way, it is the number one. The number one sport. You can throw all the lot in you want, but to me, Ashes is very, very special. England v Australia, and as I say, especially at Lord's, because Lord's is home of legends. It's steeped in history, and to walk through the Grace Gates at Lord's on Test Match Day with England Australia, it's very, very special. You get the real buzz.
And of course, this marks the beginning of almost a 10 Ashes match series. It's going to be it's quite a tantalising time to be involved in cricket, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It could be a close series, but I think England might just sneak it. I think they'll just get home, England. But I mean, the Australians, they've said about the Australians that they're a weak side and so forth. But I can tell you, in all the Test matches I've done between England and Australia, I've never seen a weak Australian side. Never. They will fight to the end, they'll fight to the death. It's no war, it's no pushover, it'll go close, I think. If we have the good weather, I think England will just sneak it. But in Australia next winter, I think we'll find it very, very hard.
You mentioned that the fact people have been saying that this is a so-called weak Australian side.
Yeah.
When you were at your height as an umpire, you obviously saw England not in the greatest form against Australia. It must be quite an exciting time to be an English cricket fan, isn't it? To have a team which are really in the ascendancy, and especially against their biggest rivals, Australia.
That's right. I mean, the strong favourites are England. But I think Australia have made a good move in bringing Darren Lehman in as coach. He knows the game inside out. He was a damn good player, a good player for Australia. And getting him, he will install the mental strength and belief into the Australian side. And again, in the England setup, we've got the finest cricket coach in the world as far as I'm concerned, and that's Andy Flower. Not only is he a good cricket coach, his man management is the best there is. I think it'll be a good battle between the two coaches. And of course, in Alistair Cook, we've got a fine captain. But I can tell you, this England side, we've got a magnificent dressing room. And if you've got a good dressing room, you'll conquer the world. If you haven't got a good dressing room, if you get bickering and backbiting, you'll fall by the wayside. And England have got a magnificent, good dressing room, good team spirit altogether, and it should be a good series.
And finally, how about you? I mean, you've been out of the game for a few years now. Are you happily retired? Do you have much of an association with cricket these days?
Well, I go to all the test matches. I'm going to Trent Bridge for 2 days. I'm going to Lords for 2 days. I'm going to Old Trafford for 1 day. So I watch county cricket as well, and I watch all the tests. I watch Yorkshire. I go to Yorkshire, and I have my own foundation, the Dickie Bird Foundation for underprivileged children, to help young kids with their sport. It's nationwide. It's going very well. We're all voluntary. I've got five good trustees, and if I can do this and give a young kid, an underprivileged kid, a start in life, I think to myself, I've done something. My aim is to get them off street corners, away from television, and doing exercises, and it's going very, very well.